Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everybody. I'm Preacher Moss, host of the SOS, a shout out show. Hey, big congrats, greetings, huge salutations to the world champion New York Knicks. I've been getting a lot of calls about that, and let me say it right here. I'm that person jump on the bandwagon. I'm going to keep it 100%. I am a lifelong Knicks fan, but I'm going to tell you the truth. I honestly thought that the San Antonio Spurs were going to win. Just looking at the basketball math, the youth, the talent, the matchups. I really thought that the San Antonio Spurs were going to win, and I picked them to win. I picked them to beat the New York Knickerbockers. That's just being real. But you know what? Everything you choose, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen. The logic was there, the numbers were there, the talent was there. You're talking about a group of young men who led every game by double digit leads, but they weren't able to maintain the lead. So maybe that just says experience is more valuable in these situations, or just determination. Not taking away anything from the New York Knicks. I thought Jalen Brunson was spectacular. His cast was spectacular. People came up in the right time and made the right plays. So whether the Spurs won or not, or the Knicks won or not, I have to say I enjoyed what was actually a gentleman's sweep of 4-1. I actually enjoyed this series. It was fun. It was compelling, and something was really nice. It pulled people together. I don't live in New York, but it was fun to see New York Knickerbocker fans travel. They've been starved for a championship. Everybody knows it's been 53 years. I'm a kid that wore, Walt Clyde Frazier shoes, the blue Pumas with the stripe. I love Walt Frazier. There was nobody even more cooler than him, except Black Jesus. The fact of the matter is, it was an amazing, transformative series. I mean, there was some rough spots, and you could say some questionable play, dirty play, but you're trying to win a championship. You're going to do what you need to do to win a championship. That being said, congratulations to the Knicks. They're gonna have a huge parade tomorrow. I'm gonna take some time out of my schedule, at least watch an hour of it because it's joy. If you've ever been to New York, New York is a lot of things, but for a lot of years, it's just been a miserable city. To see the joy and effervescence around this basketball team, it was heartening, and to see people who I knew were lifelong Knicks fans, Spike Lee, the guy that sits by Spike Lee, Ben Stiller, all these people who've been, and let's even go further, the actual former Knick players. I enjoyed watching Patrick Ewing and John Starks and those guys who tried to win championships back in those days. I enjoyed seeing them with younger players rejoicing because last time I believe that the Knicks tried to go for a championship, they got to the cup and they won the Eastern Conference championship. Patrick Ewing suffers a partially torn Achilles. He can't play. There was no matchup in the world that was going to be Dave Robinson and a young Tim Duncan, so they did not win. So it was fun to see him. It was a heartbreak. It was the Jeff Van Gundy years. It was the Pat Riley years. I really, really rode with the Knicks, but we just didn't get over the hump. They got over the hump, and let me say this: salutations to San Antonio. You guys put up a valiant fight. I know people are going to talk about blown leads and things like that, but you know what? You're going to have a little pain. You're going to have to experience some type of controversy like that. I'm scared because I think San Antonio is going to be in the driver's seat for probably the next 3 or 4 championships in the years that are coming. But I think they're going to learn. And what I liked was these guys did not give up. They were young. Shout out especially to my guy Dylan Harper. I thought he had an amazing series. He didn't get enough time, but you know what? Youth. Stephon Castle. These guys are going to be around a long time. So NBA Knicks love you, but enjoy it for what it is because next year it's going to be hell to pay. Okay, let me get up on our topic today. Why does peace cost so much? Now, the reason I put this topic up, why does peace cost so much? And it's not that peace costs so much, it's the process of peace. We had a blooming headline that there was going to be a peace agreement between the United States and Iran. And literally, as we sit here, it's going to smithereens. It's falling to pieces. And I'm going to talk about what it is when you're talking about placating things like peace. because peace is something that's associated with the divine, right? Peace is associated with a communal understanding about something, and we don't have that. We have countries that are over here separated by massive bodies of water, separated by religion, separated by economy, separated by governmental philosophy, and all of a sudden it's supposed to come together. And they're also separated by intention, expectation, and what are the realities? What is in Iran right now? What is the United States right now? What brings these two things to the peace table? When honestly, a week ago they were still talking about blowing each other up and sending out firearms. And I don't want to say firearms, but definitely bombing one another. So that in and of itself is something that we should really look at. So I'm going to start the show. I'm going to be back and we're going to talk about why does peace cost so much here on the ShOUT Show with Preacher Moss. Don't you move. All right, we're back. Let me go ahead and give a shout out to my ShOUT Show family. We got brother Altaf Rashid, and you know Altaf. He is one of our day ones. We call him Mr. 6 o'clock, straight up, straight down, Canadian envoy to the ShOUT Show. Thank you so much for tuning in. I always appreciate it. And Sister Ricci says, hello, family. Altaf, wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ree, good to hear from you. Hope that you're doing well and you're settled in. Shout out to Derek and Juan. We always keep you in our prayers. Hope everything is going well over there. And Mr. Bilal Salahuddin and his queen, Sister Sonia Dalton Salahuddin. Always a pleasure to have you on the platform. Thank you guys so much. I'm going to tell people, and this thing, if you have something to say, just go ahead and chime in. I don't have all the answers for this this question, but I do have perspective. I do have perspective because a lot of times when we're talking about peace, peace is so much framed by intentionality, right? Like you can say slavery ended, but did they bring peace? After all these years, you'll find a mass amount of descendants of ex-slaves that said it didn't bring peace. And because peace is not the thing that comes along by itself. It's peace, it's equity, it's fairness, it's justice, it's compassion, it's generosity. Yeah, you have a peace deal, but if it's not encompassing these things, then what does it matter? Even now, we have a deal that's framed by people who are not in the business of peace. Therefore, the reason why peace costs so much is because you can't determine people's intentions. Let me say that again. You can't determine people's intentions. Thus, you can be down the road thinking about something, and people can have a change of heart. They have a change of philosophy. They have a change of influence. And what happens is the road all of a sudden becomes very, very bumpy, very, very coarse because the way you were going, the way we were framing ourselves on a platform or a particular direction, all of a sudden it's twisted. Peace has always been threatening for this area of the Middle East because any peace accord is going to have to deal with who? Israel. So you have a peace deal between the United States and Iran that's not inclusive of Israel. Well, here's my deal. Because you're damned if you say it and you're damned if you don't say it. Israel does not want peace. It doesn't. You can't show me where there's been a modality where they've chosen peace without control, peace without terror, peace without tragedy, peace without oppression. You haven't shown me that. Thus, the players in this whole Middle Eastern crisis, therefore, they've drawn for lack of a word, they've drawn their lines in the sand, knowing that peace is not attainable. We say, preacher, peace is not attainable. Why do we talk about it? Because the process And the facade of peace is very valuable. The process and the facade of peace are very, very valuable. There's a lot of money that goes into looking like you're being peaceful. There's a lot of money that's put on the table for image. Now, I'm not a I'm not, I don't have a PhD in geopolitics, okay? I got but I do have a master's in common sense, meaning that you're trying to look at people's behavior, right? Per se, if I'm a chef and I'm going to cook a meal, right? I know this person over here only likes beef. I know this person over here only likes lamb. And I cook a feast that features chicken. I know that the person who only likes beef and the person who only likes lamb, they're going to complain incessantly when they get to the table, and they're going to complain all the way to the table. And that becomes bigger than the meal in and of itself. The argument on the way to the meal, which structures not dietary choices, but it structures position, power, influence. Because if I'm serving chicken and beef, there's a good chance the person doesn't want the chicken or the beef. Or the person with the beef doesn't want the lamb or the chicken. They want the table that is held on. They want all the dressings that are around it. This is about consumption. So, one of the reasons why peace is so expensive is because it's so ill aligned with consumption that folks are not able to say who and what they are in a meaningful way. Thus, they become imposters. Thus, they become players to the problem in and of itself, but not to the problem solving. Let me give you a breakdown. In relationships, we have people who say, my peace of mind is important, but it's separate from the peace of mind from the people and environment where they have a relationship. Thus, my peace of mind is important to me, but it's selfish because it can't be applicable to anybody else. So that my good feeling, my peace of mind cannot be attributable to other people having less stress. It cannot be attributable to people having less anxiety. It's like my goodwill, if I have some good fortune that comes upon me, it's good fortune from me. But if we're talking about peace, I should be able to take some of that good fortune and make other people peaceful, right? But we don't think like that. We don't think like that. And the narratives have been destroyed over and over and over again. What you're going to see now is a push. And let me be very clear with all my Muslims and Christians and my Jewish folks. There's going to be a push because peace now is designed, hear me now, is designed and framed to be alienated from the one who gives us peace. That men believe that they can bring peace to the world. That's like saying, I have a race car. I put a race car on the track, but the race car wins a race, but I don't claim the makers of the race car. I don't claim the minute parts that are in. You see what I'm saying? That the narrative is skewed whereby we get an end result. And if the only thing you can see is an end result, then you can't value the journey that gets you there. So in this case, for lack of a better word, we don't value the journey. And that's why peace costs so much. Society has been, as my mother said, a microwave society. We don't have attention spans. We're not invested in the processes that give us peace. The processes that give you peace are empathy. The processes that give you peace are transparency. The processes that give you peace are what is equity and fairness and justice in an equation. Allow people to have dignity. I've said this before. I'll say it again. I can't find one black man in all of America who deep down inside is willing to blindly follow white leadership. We may fake like we are because white leadership is all they are. We're not volunteering ourselves. We're not lining up ourselves. You know, when you talk about MAGA and the GOP, there's a reason why you don't have a whole lot of black people in the GOP. It's not that the GOP doesn't want them, but the GOP doesn't want thinking black people. They don't want thinking minorities, folks who have questions about how did your situation get here? We talk about the party in Lincoln. Yes, okay. But that was so many years ago. What have you done for me lately? That's almost the impact from Janet Jackson. What have you done for me lately? And being able to have those conversations in a meaningful way consistently. So we got some people, let me shout out. Salam alaikum wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. JT, what's going on, beloved? Thank you so much for joining the show. Hope you're doing well. Shout out to the family. My man, Eric Carter from South Kakalaki. What's going on, beloved? Appreciate you, man. Jabril, all the way from Charlotte. What's going on, beloved? Jabril said, Gil Scott Heron once said, the only thing wrong with peace is you can't make no money off of it. That's what I was saying, brother. That's what I'm saying with peace. Peace costs money. So even, the topic today, shout out to Brother Bilal, wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I see you made down the Sugar Land, beloved. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Oh, okay. From Indonesia. All right. I see you, Jabril. Do your thing, baby. Bilal, hey, you know how we do it, beloved. So, and people ask why the peace costs so much. And here's the other thing about peace. Peace is a process. It's either going to be a process moving towards something positive and progressive. It's going to be a process that's going to retard everything that you're doing. Like 2 steps up, 2 steps back. That's the kind of world we live in, right? I talked about imposter syndrome. That's scary. I'm sitting here. My boy Bilal and I sitting there and listening to the news this morning. The leader of the free world, Mr. Trump, Mr. 47, tells people if Iran doesn't behave, we're gonna drop bombs on their heads. Is that anything you want to hear going into a peace accord or a deal that you've signed? And all of the remnants are there. All of the signs are there that there's no peace agreement. They're talking about an MOU, a memorandum of understanding. What are we doing, people? A memorandum of understanding is a business agreement. You're talking about a peace document, which is something that regulates behavior and intention, and we don't have it. All right. Got some folks in Instagram land. Henry the Sovereign, what's going on? International, wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Mo Salada. All right, Mo Salada and Mango. Okay, Mango, how you doing? Janae and Nessa, how you doing? Abdulam, Amreen, Ayana, thank y'all so much for joining. Let me even throw this out. I have you got a fan. Mom Bilal says, love your amazing mother. All right. Let me throw this out. Because I know when I was younger, particularly when I was going to school and in the 70s, early 70s, and integration and busing and things, I never felt at ease about busing and integration because it wasn't natural. It wasn't natural. That the people who were enacting these things were not going to be in line or aligned with the consequences that came afterwards, right? Per se, you have a group of people, and this is true, I believe, you have a group of people that require health care. But the people who are talking about health care are talking in theoreticals. They're talking parathenicals. They're not talking about uh, aspects of healthcare, pre-existing conditions outside of the terminology that are on these white papers. They don't understand that if I catch a cold on a Monday, there's a good chance I have that cold on a Tuesday. And that bit of time, brothers and sisters, is valuable because if the cold doesn't go this way or that way, it can be anywhere from an extended cold to pneumonia. Not understanding the demands of the human body, right? And we talk about healthcare. Healthcare talks about what? Not how you improve health. It talks about how you pay for it. And the argument is about paying for it. The argument is about not providing quality care. It's the same thing with peace. And that might sound like a fuddy duddy when they talked about Gaza having a ceasefire. I made it sounded like a wet blanket, but I meant what I said. And what I said was a ceasefire does not mean a cease war. A ceasefire does not mean a cease war. And when I was saying that, it was it was just the gut feeling, and we realized that people were still being killed in Gaza. People are still being killed in Lebanon. People are still getting shelled in Iran. And I think the thing is, the process has become convoluted because people are so worried about doing the right thing because they're worried that it makes them weak, that it gives the appearance of being vulnerable. If that's the way you feel, then you shouldn't be a part of the peace process. If your number one concern is who has leverage over what, then it's not a real peace process. It's a bargaining. It's negotiating. Let me tell you guys the facts. Okay? Let me give you guys the facts. And this is just a layman's understanding of this war that we have with Iran in the Straits of Hormuz. Facts are out there that before we even went there, before the United States even went to have this war, going back to 2025, spring of 2025, a report came out, and the defense people, the experts said going to war with Iran is a terrible idea. Now, let me give you a layman's understanding. Going to war with Iran is a terrible idea because just of the fact that you have to have such mass movement of artillery, of manpower, of support, everything from bullets to tanks to toilets to toilet paper to latrines, it's massive. No one is talking about how much peace costs because we're still spending about $3 billion a week, $3 to $7 billion a week on this war. And nobody is talking about it. Meanwhile, gas is through the roof, right? Gas is through the roof. And when the gas prices go down, inflation is still going to stay up. Now, here's a thought about a real peace process. A real peace process. How about after 250 years, let's have a peace process for people who help build this country. Let's have a peace process for the teachers that try to educate our children to be ready for the future. How about a peace process that protects our inner cities and our rural areas from these data centers that are 6, 7, 8, 9 acres just tearing up the ecosystem? How about a peace system that provokes our politicians to tell us the truth and apologize for the lies that they've given us? Some of you on here know what I'm about to talk about. If you understand, then, and I appreciate it. This thing with Iran, there was a thing that happened back in the 70s, right? It was called the Iran hostage crisis. And the US, just like the UK, was meddling in foreign governments that they had no business doing, but they felt like they had providence to do it. And doing regime change. And what happened with that is they caused disruption in that area, and it's never been fixed. And one of the things that was the dumbest thing in the world, but the most clear thing in the world is Iran knew has been preparing to be preparing for. They've been preparing for a war for years. For years. Just the fact that you are now going to go is laughable. We'll kill your leaders. Who cares? They'll make more leaders. What you can't deny is the will of the people. What you can't deny is, for lack of a better word, the leader of the United States flinched. Taco is back in effect. Taco, Trump always chickens out. Taco is back in effect. Because you don't have a stomach for it. You don't have a stomach for war. And the reason you have a stomach for war because there was no reason to go. And at the same rate, you don't have a stomach for war. You don't have a stomach for peace. Because you don't have a soul. You don't have a moral center that says, wait a minute. Babies dying is a problem. Wait a minute. Blowing up schools is something we don't want to do. And this is not under the capitulation of collateral damage. These are human lives. If we can get to this point, that there is a peace treaty per se, you're not going to get what you want because people don't trust you. You have all these sides to this disagreement, to this war, and they are expressing a particular type of discernment based on the fact that they know nobody coming to the table can be trusted. And it's interesting, and I said this before, it's interesting how people don't trust victims. And the reason they don't trust victims, when a oppressor doesn't trust a victim, because they believe that the victim, if they live, if they get stronger, that victim is going to do to them what they did to the victim. And so the idea of a peace accord, the idea of let's sit down and negotiate how we can coexist in this situation becomes far-fetched. Am I poo-pooing a peace treaty? No, I'm poo-pooing the process by which we're trying to get the peace, and coming back to the fact, why does peace cost so much? Because the market for insincerity, the market for lack of integrity, the market for falsehood, the market for oppression, the market for toxicity, the market for genocide, that market is so high. It's such a rich market that honestly, people, we don't have a market for peace. And because of that, that's why it costs so much. You got to invent it. So listen, that's a shout out show for this week. Shout out to the Knicks. Give y'all some love. Shout out to my main man, Patrick Ewing. Yeah, I'm glad your Knicks got a title. You know, I'm a Georgetown aholic, and I hollered at them as much as I could. People, enjoy yourself. And as much as I talk about why does peace cost so much, you know what? You be peaceful. That's a peace you can afford. Okay. Take care of yourself. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Preacher Moss, shout out show.